Good day, everyone. For my today's presentation, I am presenting to you the history of physical education. Now, let's go to physical education during the age of feudalism. Feudalism was a system of land tenure based upon the allegiance and service to the nobleman or lord. During the feudalism times, the sons of the lord or nobleman had two choices, which are one, to train for the church and become a member of the clergy, or two, to enter chivalry and become a knight. And at the age of 14, they become a squire and attached to a knight. And at the age of 21, knighthood was conferred to him. To enter chivalry and become a knight was a kind of education that was physical, social, and military in nature. Participated in various forms of physical activity which would strengthen and harden his body for rigorous tasks ahead. Now let's go to physical education during the Renaissance. The revival of learning, which also brought about the dignity of man and renewed spirit of nationalism. It was necessary for health as means of developing the body, as preparation for welfare, and a means of providing recreation for the wealthier classes of people. Classical revival for gymnasium and academies. The gymnasiums appeared in ducal courts. They were created for the liberal education for the privileged boys. Physical education was mostly a part of extracurriculum activities, which are fencing, bowling, tennis, regattas, and acrobatics. Now let's go to physical education in modern Europe. The history of physical education in the modern European countries is reflected in the contribution of these countries to the growth and the advancement of physical education, which is also associated with names of its contributors. Physical education in modern Europe, Germany. Johann Bernhard Basedow. He established a school called Philanthropium, the first school in modern Europe that offered a program where physical education was a part of the curriculum. Johann Christopher Friedrich Gatz Motz. He wrote two books, Gymnastics for the Young and Games, which contained illustrations of various exercises and apparent arguments in favor of physical education's institutions, often referred to as one of the founders in modern physical education in Germany. Now let's go to physical education in modern Europe, Germany. Adolf Spies. He is a founder of school gymnastics in Germany. He helped to make physical education in a part of a school life. His thoughts about physical education are 1. Physical education should be required of all students. Second, it should receive the same consideration as other subjects in the curriculum. Third, the physical education program should be progressive, starting with simple exercises and proceeding to the more difficult. Now let's go to modern Europe, Sweden. Per Henrik Ling. His name is symbolic of the rise of physical education in Sweden. Strove to make physical education a science through anatomy and psychology. One would be better able to understand the human body and its needs, and apply activity intelligently through the scientific approach. He established the Royal Central Institute Gymnastics to prepare teachers in 3 categories of gymnastics: educational, military, or medical. His objective of physical education was to develop the body of its fullest extent, to restore health, to the weak and to make the country strong to protect against aggressors. Lars Gabriel Branting. He spent his time in medical gymnastics. His teachings were based on the premise that physical activity causes changes in the muscular, nervous, and circulatory system. His objective of physical education was to develop the body to its fullest extent, to restore health to the weak, and to make country strong to protect against aggressors. Gustav Neblius. He specialized in military gymnastics. His innovation was the inclusion of women in the school. Hjalmar Fredrik Ling. He organized educational gymnastics in Sweden, and he is responsible for making physical education as a school subject. Now let's go to modern Europe, Denmark. France Nachtigall. He introduced physical education into the schools of Denmark. First director of a training school for teachers of gymnastics in the army. He is the director of gymnastics for all the Denmark. Niels Duck. He introduced primitive gymnastics. He attempts to build the perfect physique through a series of exercises that were performed without cessation of movement. Great Britain, known as the home of outdoor sports, where utilized a program of organized games and sports. English youth were engaged early in physical activities: wrestling, throwing, riding, fishing, hunting, swimming, rowing, skating, shooting the bow and arrow. The athletic sports played were the following: hockey and coach, tennis, golf, cricket, and football. The global now let's go to physical education in America. The colonial period in America was not conducive to organized physical education programs. The religious beliefs of the Puritans did not favor play, and so they lived a life of austerity and stern discipline. There was little emphasis given to any form of physical activity because it was thought of as waste of time. The national period in US The national period in US history began to recognize physical education as important to America society. German gymnastics were introduced. Turnverein associations were organized. Swedish movement cure in America, building of gymnasiums and formation of gymnastics and athletics clubs. Outstanding leaders and events affecting physical education during the Civil War, where baseball was invented by James Naismith. Dr. Dudley Allen Sargent was known for his work in teacher preparation, remedial equipment, exercise devices, college organization and administration, anthropometric experimentation. Contributors and development of physical education in the early 20th century. Thomas Denison Wood introduced natural gymnastics, where gave more emphasis on game and game skills. Clark Hetherington emphasized on children's play activities. Jesse Bancroft influenced the development of physical education as a responsibility of homeroom teachers in the elementary schools. Jacob wreaths, symbolic of playground movement in New York. That's all for my today's presentation. Thank you for watching.